The Widowmaker wasn't a ship. It was a fortress of black steel and vengeance, drifting like a blade in the void. Connor Adams stood at the docking umbilical, helmet on his hip, jacket hanging loose over combat blacks. His squad moved behind him with the casual confidence of killers who'd survived too much to care about ceremony. Kaylee's Rin was last off the ramp. Boots rang against the deck, dark hair whipping as the seals locked shut. She was the storm Connor never wanted to outrun, sharp smile, sharper mind, and reckless enough to fly through a gravity well for fun. "So this is the Widowmaker," she said, voice carrying even in the hush of the bay. "Looks like a coffin to me." Connor grinned. "Good thing we're not dying in it." "Speak for yourself," Varric rumbled. "I hear there's a bar. If I disappear, that's where I'll be." Talia smirked, rifle slung over one shoulder. "Right. First they'll swap your liver for a coolant pump, then you can drink all you want." The docking officer stared as they passed. Everyone did. They wanted to see the first selected Reaper team. The doors slid open, revealing black corridors lit by red strips and silent drones. The ship hummed beneath their boots. "Home, sweet home," Kaylee's murmured, brushing her hand against Connor's for the briefest second. Connor's jaw tightened. He'd seen too many black projects turn people into machines. They'd been promised something different this time. He prayed it wasn't a lie. The upgrade bay was called the Crucible for a reason. It wasn't a sterile med facility with white walls and soft lights. It was a cathedral of steel and stormlight. Shadows clung to towering frames of alloy, surgical halos hung like execution rigs, and the air thrummed with the sound of precision machines breathing life into metal. Banks of consoles blinked with streams of biodata, while Med-AI voices murmured code like a choir in a language that didn't belong to any human tongue. Cross waited for them at the far end. Broad-shouldered, scar-lined, his presence carried the weight of a man who'd fought wars most people only whispered about. He didn't posture. He didn't need to. Authority dripped from his calm like oil on water. "Welcome to the deep end," he said, his voice iron-wrapped and unshaken. His gaze swept the squad with surgical precision. "You signed the waivers you didn't read. So let's skip the sermon and get to the part where we turn you into something the galaxy has nightmares about." "Finally," Varric muttered, rolling his shoulders like a predator waking up. "Been feeling too human lately." Kaylee smirked from where she leaned, arms crossed. "You're not even getting the full build, big guy. Just a neural sync for the Talon and some reflex threading." "Lucky me," Varric shot back with a wolfish grin. Connor said nothing. His eyes stayed locked on the surgical rigs hanging above, black steel arcs studded with injectors and spinal tethers. He'd volunteered for more than most sane people would. Not for the medals, not for the ghosts. For survival, for her, for all of them. Cross flicked his fingers, and the med drones came alive, whispering across the deck like silver wraiths. "Strip to blacks," the lead AI intoned, voice soft as glass. "Augmentation cycle begins in 60 seconds. Boots thudded against steel as Connor peeled off his jacket, gear stacking in perfect lines. Around him, his team mirrored the ritual, armor shed, plates clanging like discarded scales. Soldiers laid bare before the crucible. The table took Connor first. Cold alloy embraced his spine as restraints locked with a hiss. A surgical halo descended, ringed with needles that gleamed like a crown of fangs. "Neural cascade primed," the AI whispered. Then came the fire. White heat ripped through his skull, every synapse screaming, every nerve set ablaze. For a heartbeat he drowned in light, and then the flood receded, leaving a silence so sharp it hurt. The world slowed. He could see breath haze like frozen glass, hear servos purr in the walls like distant thunder. Next came Varric. They cracked his spine and braided it with titanium lattice, grafted servo muscles along his frame, until the man looked like strength incarnate. He grunted once, then grinned wide enough to scare the dark. Talia's turn brought precision. Ocular grafts slid beneath her lashes, golden filaments blooming into her optic nerves. When her eyes reopened, they glowed faint amber, pupils flexing like combat reticles, calibrating in real time. Kaylor didn't flinch as they fused a neural hive poured into his skull. A halo of drones hummed to life around him, chrome petals orbiting their new master. Reska's scales were reinforced with aloe-threaded bone, his lungs rebuilt with nanofiber mesh that let him breathe anywhere, smoke, gas, even thin air. His reflexes sharpened to a predator's edge, his strikes faster, deadlier. Kaylee's, hers was different. No cannons in her arms, no spinal claws. She lay still under the halo, calm as starlight, as they rewrote reflex arcs and hard-linked her neural map to the Black Talon's combat AI. When her eyes flickered open, Starlin's shimmered in the black of her irises, and Connor's chest tightened. Hours later, the team stood together again. Same people, new edges, faster, sharper, deadlier. And yet when Kaylee smirked at him and said, "So, still think you can beat me in a sim?" Connor grinned back, a touch of heat behind it. Name the time. The Widowmaker's war room was no less imposing. Black alloy walls swallowed light whole, while hollow projectors cast ghost lanterns across a table carved from obsidian. Tactical overlays flickered red and silver, tracing Dominion choke points and rebel sectors like veins of fire across a star map. Connor and his squad stood in a loose arc, servos humming softly under their skin. Sharper now, tuned for war, but still human in the curl of a grin, the lazy tilt of a shoulder. Kaylee's leaned against the bulkhead, arms folded, her eyes mapping the hollow display with a hunger only pilots knew. She was calm, but Connor saw the coil of energy under her skin, the pull of vacuum, the itch for open skies. The door hissed. Cross entered first, a storm in human shape, and behind him came Kasen Ashford. If Cross was the hammer, Kasen was the scalpel. Tall, lean, draped in a combat jacket traced with silvered veins of integrated tech. He didn't radiate power, he bent the air with it. A man who'd seen the edge of the void and learned how to carve it open. Connor straightened without thinking. He'd read the redacted files, the whispers in black channels. Ashford was a name that haunted battlefields like a war hymn, the survivor of a war no one else had walked away from. And now, the architect of something far bigger. Kasen's eyes swept over them, reading them like code. They lingered on Connor a fraction longer, then flicked to Kaylee's with the barest nod. "Reapers," Kasen said, his voice smooth, honed, carrying steel under the calm. "Welcome aboard. I trust the crucible didn't kill you." "Not for lack of trying," Varric muttered, flexing a servo-muscled arm that could punch through a blast door. A shadow of a smile ghosted Kasen's face. "Good. That means it worked." The war room bled red light across steel and shadow. Maps pulsed overhead, star systems marked with firepoints and fracture lines like veins about to burst. Ashford stood at the table, Cross looming silent beside him. His fingers ghosted over the hollow controls, shifting the map until a cluster of systems flared in crimson. "These," Kasen said, his voice a blade drawn slow. "Council loyalists who spat on the Armstrong Treaty. They've gone from whispers to open rebellion. Armories, listening posts, command bunkers, and worse, funding insurgents that should already be ash and memory." The hollow expanded, two distinct overlays dividing the field. One was broad, whole stations, fleets, battalions marked for eradication. The other was surgical, dozens of sharp little strikes, each one pinpointed like the tip of a knife. "That's where you come in," Kasen continued, his eyes sliding over Reaper Team 1. "The Widowmaker and her strike groups will handle the heavy blows. We'll make it loud. We'll make it bloody. They'll feel our fire and it will haunt them." Then his gaze sharpened. "But you are ghosts. You'll slip in where we cannot. Cut throats before the heads can scream. Tear out roots before they grow into forests. No banners, no survivors, no witnesses. You're not just killing men. You're killing the idea that rebellion can live." The room went still. Even the Widowmaker's hum seemed to fade. Connor's jaw tightened. The weight of it pressed against his chest, but he didn't flinch. This was what they'd been built for. "What's first?" he asked, voice low. Kasen keyed the map again. A cluster of red motes bloomed like sparks. "Your first run is multi-layered, 3 targets in sequence. First, a relay hub in the Deros belt. Quiet little rock, big signal reach. You burn it, they go blind. Second, a munitions depot hidden under an ice shelf on Varun 6. Slip in, crack it, vanish before they know the sky is falling. Third, Kasen paused, his eyes narrowing. A council warlord who thinks himself untouchable. He's moving through the fringe in a cloaked corvette. You'll intercept. No escape. No. Kaylee's lips curved in a sharp half-smile. Sounds fun. Fun, Varric rumbled, flexing servo-muscled fingers, is not the word I'd use. Relax, Talia muttered, her new amber eyes gleaming as they tracked the hollow. We're ghosts. They'll never see us coming. Cross finally spoke, voice like gravel dragged across steel. Remember, every strike matters. These aren't random hits. Each one weakens the Council's spine before we crush it in full view of the galaxy. You fail quiet, and the Widowmaker bleeds loud. Connor nodded once. Kasen's gaze lingered on him. Then go. While the Widowmaker tears down walls, you'll be the shadow that slips through the cracks, one strike at a time. The hollow dimmed, orders sealed, paths drawn. Reaper Team 1 turned as one, boots ringing against steel as they left the war room. Their mission wasn't glory. It wasn't banners raised or planets conquered. It was the knife in the dark. And knives never. Kaylee's fell into step with Connor as the team filed out. Her grin had teeth in it. So, Kasen Ashford. He's got that whole silent killer in a coat thing going. Connor didn't smile. It's not an act. Cross fought under him before the treaty talks. There's a story that Kasen walked out of the Ash War when everyone else stayed buried. Sounds like the kind of guy who doesn't pick losers. Or the kind who throws you into a meat grinder because he knows you'll crawl out breathing. Kaylee's bumped his shoulder, grinning wider. Guess we better not make. While the Reapers headed for the Black Talon, Kasen stood before the Widowmaker's tactical array. Dozens of red icons marked systems across Council space, some already dead, others waiting their turn. Begin with the outer belt, Kasen said to his operations officer. We take the loudest voices first.